Bună ziua, welcome. I am Claudia Cochina saying hello to you from Craiova. We have been investing in the children and teenagers of this region for more than 12 years here at Fly High and at the Close to You organization. Thank you for joining the Life Education event. 5 years ago, we created this context of learning for students, parents, and teachers alike. Today's event brings together educators from all over Romania. And you're here today because you value learning, and that's such a great thing. So do put in the chat, whether on Zoom or if you're joining us on Facebook, where you come from. Thank you so much, all of you. I cannot follow the chat, but I do. Okay. Timișoara is here. Bistrița is here. Lugoj, Sighetul Marmației, welcome. Craiova, București. This is so encouraging. It's a great autumn afternoon, and if you're ready for the next 2-hour learning journey, grab a cup of coffee or tea. We're looking at a really great event. Before we start, I just want to thank our partners, the British Council, Brookhouse College, Cărturești. Most of all, I'd like to say hello and congratulate Mrs. Faur in Timișoara. She represents Inspectoratul Timiș, and Mrs. Zaharie and Mihulescu de la Inspectoratul Craiova, Dolj. I think as long as we're open to learning, we are hopeful about Romanian education. So I appreciate all your efforts for being here today. The British Council is the place where I started my learning journey as a teacher back in the 90s. It is the institution that kept our professional quest going, and the organization that still innovates and surprises us with great cultural and educational experiences. Today we have here with us, on behalf of the British Council Romania, Nigel Townsend. Hello, Nigel, can you hear us?
I can, but I think you referred to my predecessor who left 5 years ago.
Sorry, oh my God, I'm so friends with you that I'm sorry. Nigel Bellingham is with us.
That's me, that's me.
Please tell me I'm not the first one to make that error.
Would I say that? But after you said such lovely things about the British Council, and I didn't know actually, Claudia, that you know, we played such a role in your professional formation, so that's lovely to hear.
Yes.
You
Thank you, Nigel.
Say a few words. Shall I speak now, or do you want to introduce Olivia first?
Yes, we're ready to listen to you, and thank you once again for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm speaking to you from Bucharest, where I'm based, and a silver lining from this terrible pandemic that we have lived through and are still living through is that we can actually meet each other virtually without having to spend 4 hours on the road, and that means I can come along to events like this. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Of course I know you really.
Somebody's heckling me in the background. I don't know if you can hear that, but I can hear somebody speaking. Anyway, first of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to join you, albeit virtually and albeit briefly, because I'm afraid I have to go off to another event in a little while. Big congratulations to you, Claudia. It's a great event. It's a great idea to bring people together, and I see you've got 46 participants from the far north, on close to the border with Ukraine, but also the southwest in Timișoara and Craiova, all cities that I've visited and have enjoyed very much. So big congratulations, and I'm really pleased to support you. For us at the British Council, as you said, supporting teaching and learning is absolutely at the centre of what we do. So it's great to be able to join an event like this. I know my colleagues are sharing it through our own channels, so I hope we've got a lot of other partners joining you, maybe if not now, but on the recording. you asked me to speak about the importance of professional development. Well, I have to confess that I think probably I don't need to talk about the importance of professional development because you're already here. So I'm preaching to the choir, as they say. But I think what I would say is that for me, what's really, really important is that professional development covers much, much more than just going to a course. And I think sometimes there's a misconception that actually that's what learning is. Actually, learning is much, much wider than that. It's about coming together, networking, sharing, listening, experimenting, reflecting on the success of your experiment, trying again, criticizing yourself, but also praising yourself, recognizing what's worked and what hasn't worked, and adjusting. And in that way, continuously developing professionally, always learning. And for me, that's vital, not just because it makes you do your job well, it leads to excellence, but also it leads to motivation, not just for yourself, but for your colleagues and for your students. You're modeling what you are actually telling your students you need them to do. So events like this, I think, are absolutely central to ongoing continuous professional development. And actually, that's at the core of one of the things that we're doing in Romania at the moment in the British Council, because we have a programme which we're running in partnership with the Romanian American Foundation. It's located in regions that they have decided are important to them. So actually, Siget Marmației is one of them. There are areas in the far northeast and in Hateg as well, which is not too far from you in Craiova. And that project has been bringing together groups of teachers once a month for the last 4 years now, with some facilitators who support them. I can see some people nodding, so maybe you've connected with that project. That's lovely. And I was talking to one of the country trainers because, of course, it's a rather insulting phrase, but I once heard continuous professional development being referred to as the blind leading the blind. That is not what it is at all. It's the sighted leading the sighted and sharing and being open-eyed. But you do need experts to help you reflect. And we do have experts. And one of the experts in that programme, the county trainer who's based in Iași, told me that it's the most successful continuous professional development training that the teachers she works with have ever experienced. Her real frustration is that there are no credits from within the Romanian system. So one of the things that we are trying very, very hard to do is to influence our partners at the Ministry of Education to say, hey, continuous professional development is more than just running courses. And actually, we've been invited to a national conference run by the Ministry of Education, which will take place in Sibiu, but actually will be online as well next week, to present this project. Having said that professional development is more than just courses, we are of course doing courses, and I don't know if any of you have joined the Future Learn courses. We have one at the moment on teaching core skills, and it's amazing. It's a sign of just how committed Romanian teachers in Romania are, because that program has about 3,500 participants all over the world. 250 of them are in Romania. So that's about 7-8% of the whole total. And there were so many sign-ups from Romania that the organisers of the MOOC, as it's called, Massive Online Open Courses, emailed us and said, what's going on? What are you doing? Is there something wrong here? I said, no, it's just, people here are very professional. So we've got courses through Future Learn. If you don't know that, Google Future Learn and you'll see a whole load of them. And then if you're in the exams network that we work with, we also do webinars for teachers who are preparing students for exams. And we're starting in those webinars to look at things that are not just about how to make people better language learners, but actually your responsibilities as teachers towards duty of care. Safeguarding is something that we're starting to focus on as well, and ensuring that the children are protected, and that if there are any examples of children who are not protected, we're picking those up and reporting them and supporting them. We're also looking at diversity and inclusion, which is really important to us in the British Council, and saving the planet. If you have not looked at it yet, go online and have a look at the Climate Connection website, which has a whole range of things for arts managers, for policymakers, but also for teachers of English, and really great materials about how you can talk about the climate crisis that we have, and integrate that into your lessons. So as well as teaching students how to improve their English and to be better at English, you're also opening their eyes to some of the issues that are the most important for their future. And actually what we know from the great Greta Thunberg is that actually it's the youth who are driving the change here. So actually when you focus on something like this in your lesson, you're again preaching to the choir a little bit, as I say, because they're going to be listening and ready to talk about this subject. So I talked a little bit about different things, just making sure I don't forget anything that Claudia asked me to talk about. She talked about preparation for UK exams, whether that be IELTS or APTIS, which are British Council co-owned exams, or the Cambridge English exams, which are hugely popular here in Romania. That's one way as well of maintaining your ongoing professional development. And Claudia asked me to mention about the possibility to travel to the UK, because I believe we have a speaker here from Brooke House, and I saw somebody say that they were in Oxford earlier. The UK is still open. We may not be in the EU anymore, but we're open. You can come in, and we hope you'll stay for as long as you're allowed to, which I think at the moment is at least 90 days. There are lots and lots of Romanians in the UK making a massive contribution to our country, and we hope you'll still keep coming. And summer courses in the UK are increasingly popular. So do stay in touch with us. One of the things, I arrived in Romania in 2016, just after the EU referendum, and so everybody was talking about Brexit, Brexit, Brexit. And actually, our message in the British Council is working together is important. We've been in Romania for over 80 years, before the EU was even thought of, let alone founded. So our cultural connections can continue. They're not dependent on being any members of the EU, but they are dependent on people being open-minded and welcoming and friendly. And people in Romania have been so open-minded, welcoming and friendly that it's been an absolute delight for me to be here for the 5 years I've been here. And as I said, working with teachers, my own background as a teacher has been so fulfilling here, because Romanian teachers are so committed and to your ongoing professional development. And it brings me back to where I started. Congratulations to the 52 of you who are on the call now for joining this, and I wish you a really, really successful and fruitful conference. Back to you, Claudia, and I'll try and make sure I get your name right, Claudia Cochina. Thanks again for the invitation. Are you there? Oh dear, I'm border into silence, I hope. Shall I keep talking? No, she's there. Okay, back to you, Claudia.
Thank you so much, Nigel. Thank you for reminding us about how important continuous learning is, how valuable cross-curricular activities are nowadays. And I do hope English for the Community gets the recognition it deserves with the ministry. Let us know if we can support with that. Thank you once again, and hope to see you soon. And now I'm going to invite Roxana Truță. Roxana represents Cărturești, and I'm always so happy that Cărturești, magical universe of books and knowledge, is always willing to support us with our life education event. Roxana, I say hello to you from Craiova.
Hi, everybody. Hi from Cluj-Napoca. Thank you, Claudia, for inviting us to this great event. Actually, I have to say to everybody that you are very fond of Macmillan materials, and you have all the reasons to be, because they have a great range of digital resources, both for students and especially for teachers. Teachers' digital resource centers are absolutely fantastic. And I want to invite you to explore the Macmillan Education website. And to explore the titles and the levels you are interested in, and afterwards send me emails to ask me about course information and about demo codes, because there are some special offerings after the event consisting in teachers' codes, giving you access to all the digital resources for the titles you might be interested in. I'll put my email address in the text message box. Claudia really wanted to have a Macmillan speaker for today. So we invited Mrs. Fiona Mochlin. She's been a teacher trainer and a ELT materials writer for the past 25 years. And today she is willing to share with you for the next 19 minutes how to activate your student senses and how to teach with your eyes closed. Fiona, please.
Hello. Sorry,
Hello.
Roxana just made me older. So Nigel's had his name changed and I've been made older. Can you hear me?
Hello, Fiona.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
We're ready for a 90-minute learning journey with you joining us from Oxford. We do appreciate your time, and I look forward to learning with my eyes closed.
You don't literally need to close your eyes though, okay?
Okay, I was ready to do that.
Some of the time you will. So good afternoon. I'm not sure what time it is anywhere. I'm sitting here in Oxford today, so welcome to my living room. Nice to see you all. I have actually been to Romania quite a few times. I don't know if I've met any of you before because I wouldn't have seen your names if I had. I've traveled around having adventures in Romania with Roxana quite a few times and with other people from Carturești. I was looking Timișoara, I haven't been yet. Roxana, all these names of towns.
I think you haven't. No.
Not yet, no, not yet.
Timișoara.
No, you have to take me there. And I was thinking, while I was listening to Claudia, Nigel and Roxana speaking, I was thinking, it's true, I do have some fabulous memories
Of course, it's
of Romania.
M-A-R-C-H.
Nope, yep. We need to rub the mute button. That's okay. And no, one of the things, and it's connected to the talk, this is not just a random anecdote.
Wink.
Wink to you too. One of the things about the memories that I have of Romania is that when I think of being in Romania, I think about sensations, right? I think about the fog in Iași, for example. And I think about the wine, the taste of the wine in various cities around the country. And I think about some fantastic meals I've had, a fish that Roxana and I tried to find the English name of when sitting in a restaurant. And let me see if I can.
Wait, you know, I had 6 years of lessons. Then I had to stop when I broke my leg.
Can you mute that person, please?
Sorry about this. Can you please turn off your mute? Okay.
That's it. And also, Claudia, I'm going to need to be able to share my screen, and I don't have the power at the moment to share my screen. I need your tech person.
1, 2, 3, we'll do a magic trick, and now you have it.
Well, yay! Okay. We need magic fingers. Now, of course, I'm on the wrong slide. So my session for you today is about teaching through the senses. And I know that sounds a little hippie, but it isn't. It's very scientific, okay? Now, let me see if I can, of course, I can see the chat box now. One moment. I was giving a webinar yesterday in a different platform, and I'm used to Zoom, but there are so many platforms in our lives at the moment. Could you please tell me in the chat box if you teach higher level, either teens or adults at all? Because I have one activity later that's only relevant for them, and if nobody teaches that, I won't do it. So could you pop in the chat box, just type yes if you teach higher level, like B1 plus B2, teenagers or adults. And so we've got a few people. Okay, 2 people do. A few, B1, B. Okay, so I will, if I get time, I will include it, because I've prepared quite a lot of activities for you. The structure of my session is basically going to be, start with a little dipping into our memories. Then we're going to look at a bit of theory, a bit of brain science, okay, neuroscience, not psychology. And then we're going to do a lot of activities. When we do the activities, I'll be asking you to use the chat box a lot, okay? I was going to use breakout rooms, but I think with so many people, and also it takes a bit of time to get in and out of the rooms, I'm not going to do the breakout rooms, okay? Hope you don't mind. Some people hate breakout rooms anyway. So we're going to start. The session's called Teaching with Eyes Closed. There is a little bit of eyes open as well, and it's helpful if you keep your eyes open to look at the slides. I can share my slides with you at the end. There's my email there, but also if you contact Roxana, she can pass them on. You will find, though, apart from the first ones, I don't use lots of words on my slides. I use more pictures than words, okay? So, wait a minute, I need to move on to the next slide. This is a photo I took last weekend. Last Sunday, I went for a very long walk. I walked for about 18 kilometers last Sunday to get out, get some exercise. And there was a moment when I was walking through leaves, a very deep layer of autumn leaves. And the sound and the sensation on my feet suddenly took me back to when I was a child. You know that experience? Do you have that experience? And I just wanted to jump and play in the leaves. I didn't do it because I was with my boss. And that would have been a bit embarrassing. My boss, I teach at Oxford Brookes University, and I was with my boss. So I didn't jump in the leaves, but my mind went back in time to childhood. And so it was the sound and the sensation on my feet. If you look at those leaves now, can you imagine that sensation of just pushing your feet through leaves on an autumn walk? Can you imagine that? Just type yes if you can, and type a big no if you can. Can you imagine that? Feeling of leaves and the sound of leaves. Yes, good. Now I can hear myself a little bit. Good, you see? And then I started to think, what else do I remember? And I was thinking about this session with you, and I was thinking, so if I go back to when I was at school, now, I don't know what reason my brain went back to being a child, probably because it was a lot more fun and I hated secondary school. Sorry. There were certain things that just really stood out in my memory. I'll explain my pictures and then I'm going to ask you to type your memories in the chat box as well. I suddenly remembered, and this was obviously connected to the walk, that sensation must have triggered a memory. I remembered when I was about 9, 10, something like that, writing a poem. All the class wrote poems, and then we had to copy them quite small and stick them onto an autumn leaf. And then all the students stuck the leaves on the classroom wall, right? And that is a sensory thing, because you've got the writing, you've got the rewriting, you've got the feel of the leaf, you've got the, you know, the sticking and the whole process, the movement. I suddenly remembered that after the walk. And then I started thinking, what else do I remember? The next thing I remembered, picture in the middle, was the smell. No, the picture at the top right, sorry, the circular paints. The smell of the paints that we used at school. Can you remember the smell of those paints? I think I have some here next to me, my desk. I could produce them and see if you can smell them. And then I remembered the sound of the squeezy bottle paints. Did you have those at school? The type in the middle or the type bottom right? And you could squeeze them and they went. And I could remember that sound very clearly. Then I remembered the very distinct shade of green. All green paint at school was the same green. And I didn't like it as a green. And I love the color green. It's one of my favorite greens, but I didn't like that green. And then finally, I started to think, okay, well, I remember a sound and I remember a smell. I remember a shade of green. I remember the leaves and I remember, you know, walking. Do I remember the taste of anything? Bottom left, you can see Play-Doh. I don't know if you have Play-Doh, but I remember the taste of Play-Doh. And in fact, I remember the taste of plasticine, which was much nastier. So I've got all these memories stored from when I was between about 6 and 12, all these memories of school. And when I start to try to remember lessons, other lessons, the memories kind of go, I remember some singing, I remember some stories, I remember trying to learn joined up writing, but the sort of the normal traditional memories have all gone whoosh, because there was no sensory connection. And I'll show you why. Sorry, I've got too many little windows open here. Just before we move on though, memory, I'm talking about childhood memories there. Sorry, I forgot to ask you about yours. I'll do that in a second. It's not just long time ago memories that need the sensory trigger. It's also recent. This is a walk from Saturday. The walk that I had this Saturday will stay in my mind for quite a long time because of the business with the leaves, looking at this tree. When I look at that photo, I can actually feel the temperature of the air on my face, because that's how memory works. Before I explain how the memory works, I'm going to ask you to go back to your days as school children. Can you remember a distinct sound? If you can remember a distinct sound from school, and it could be the school bell, it could be eating crisps in the break, it can be anything you like. Can you type in the chat box, please, what sound you remember from primary school? If you don't remember a sound, don't worry about it. I'll ask you another question in a moment. Now just pop in the chat box if you remember a sound from school. See if anybody's typing. Either nobody's typing or lots of people. The bell. Okay, we've got the bell. Chalk. Ah, yes. The sound of chalk. And depending on the chalk, was the sound. What about the bell, the noise during the breaks? Yeah. And what about smells? Do you remember any smells from school? I remember lots of smells from school. Some of them probably not fantastic to put in the chat box. Primary teacher's voice. Oh, that's a nice one, yeah. High heels of the teacher. That's brilliant. The smell of your sandwich, okay. The green brown smell of autumn leaves, yes, good. All right, smells. Books on desk with smell of cut grass. Never enjoyed it. Oh, the cracking sound of fire in the fireplace at school. At a fireplace. Wow. The smell of crayons. Yes. Now you mention it. Fresh morning air. Yep. Did you have school lunches? I have a sort of a memory of like cabbage and cauliflower and potatoes and things in there. We used to have milk in the morning. I don't know if Nigel's still in the room or if he's old enough to remember school milk, but we had school milk before Margaret Thatcher took it away. And the smell, I used to hate the smell of it. So we've got sensory memories from childhood, sound, smells, taste. I don't know. I mean, the taste of crayons. Now somebody mentioned crayon. I must have tasted everything. I don't know why. Pencils, chewing pencils. The smell of new, but smell of sausage is good. Yeah. So there's lots of sensory memories. There are various reasons for this. Hold on, I'm struggling a little bit with my slides. Now, before I explain this slide, I will explain something else. There are 3 types of memory, okay? And I don't mean long and short. Within that, we have 3 different kinds of memory. We have declarative memory, and declarative is the memory of facts. Things like, what's the capital of Spain? Or what's the capital of Burkina Faso? Capital of Burkina Faso is my favorite city name. It's Ouagadougou, which I think is a brilliant word. It's the name of, if you know all the states in the United States of America, I don't, etc. That's the declarative. It's what is the difference between the present perfect and the past simple? That's declarative. Okay, so it's like encyclopedic knowledge. And the second type of memory is procedural, the memory of processes. When you learned to write, I don't know if you were like me, but when I learned to write, we learned the letter A first. And I remember we had to draw, we had to imagine a little girl going for a walk from her house around a pond. She was going to the post box. When she got near the post box, she remembered she'd forgotten the letter. So she went whoop, back up to her house very quickly and then back to the post box. And it was, I had to remember that story every time to write the letter A. Well, fortunately, now I'm in my 50s, I don't need to remember that story because my hand has remembered the process of writing the letter A. When you learn to drive, if you can drive, you know that same sensation. When you're learning to drive and you sit in the car and you go, oh, what's first? Mirror, etc. And now, if you've been driving for a while, when you get in the car, you just do things automatically because the procedural memory has stored the information. Dancers, they talk about muscle memory. It's essentially the same thing. So those are the first 2 types of memory. And they are the 2 kinds of memory that we tend to use most in the classroom. We tend to use processes. Listen and point. They know what that is. That's procedural. What's the difference between the past continuous, past simple? That's declarative, etc. All right. How do you say, etc. Declarative. The third type of memory is the one that we don't use as much unless we use the senses. And if we use the senses and we trigger the senses, then the 3 types of memory work together to form really strong memories. Of course, memories are the building blocks of learning. The third type of memory is called the episodic memory or the experiential memory. It is completely triggered by the senses, and it is the memory that you use to recall the smell of crayons, and the smell of your sandwiches when you were at school, and the sound of the teacher's voice, etc. That's the episodic. It is the memory that you use when you tell a story or you tell your friends what you did last weekend, because it's all the sensations that come back. Okay, so if we can trigger the senses, then they will absorb more information. Now, how do we absorb information through the senses? Well, this is more science, and this is the slide that's on the screen. The memory or memories are formed by 3 parts of the brain. And I'll finish. Strange, you lost me for a moment. Did you lose me completely?
Yes, yeah, my only prayer today was for technology to work. So Zoom just restarted.
Okay.
We're back again. Sorry for the interruption.
That's all right. Where did you lose me? Was I sitting, showing my hand? Okay, right.
Right there.
Okay, well, let me just get the slide back. Can you see it?
Yes.
I'm going to say there's a lady called Adela Sutat. If she can nod, if she can see the slide. Yeah, because I can see her. Yes, so the memory, you've got the 3 parts of the brain, the caudate nucleus, the 2 amygdala, the left and the right, and then the hippocampus over the top. They all connect together and they form memories and they recall memories. So they store and they recall. So you need them to work, and you need them to work well, just to learn, just to remember this stuff. And this is how they work. The caudate nucleus is triggered by the senses. It loves problem solving. It loves, it loves doing puzzles. And it loves the kind of decisions based on choosing. So not on analysis, but choosing, like from a menu. But it doesn't like too much choice, which is why when you go to a restaurant that has a 5-page menu, you go, oh no, I don't want to choose this. I don't want to, oh. And your brain goes, too much stress. But if you go to a restaurant that has a small menu or a set menu, then your brain is happy. Okay, so your caudate nucleus likes choosing things, it likes problem solving, and it's triggered by the senses. The amygdala, there's 2 amygdala, they are triggered by the senses. And they are responsible for emotions, positive emotions and negative emotions, but they're also responsible for language. They're responsible for creativity. And the left amygdala is responsible for vocabulary, lexis. The right amygdala is responsible for expression, not grammar. The part of your brain that's responsible for grammar does not fully develop until you are somewhere between 17 and 27. So don't worry too much about grammar, all right? Expression and vocabulary, fluency, fluidity, talking, expressing what you're thinking, and forming memories. And then the last part is the hippocampus. And the hippocampus functions by mapping. And mapping is a very sort of visual, locational process. All right? Your hippocampus doesn't really remember content, but it remembers where it stored things, where it put things. When you lose your keys, I was looking for something for this session earlier, and I had to kind of, where was it? And then I found it. That's me searching in the hippocampus, making my hippocampus work. So those 3 things, if they work well together, so you've got maps, you've got creativity and expression and vocabulary, and you've got problem solving and choosing, and you use the senses to stimulate them and to trigger them, then you are forming memories for your students. Forming memories is forming the basis for learning, right? And you're already triggering the procedural and the declarative in the class. So, that was a lot of theory. I'll give you, if you want the slides, the last slide has got the names of the technical parts, and you can just Google them again later if you've forgotten all of this. Okay, the main thing is to do some activities. Right. Before we do the activities though, here's a little test for you. It's a little test of your declarative memory. In your brain, there are 6 senses, not only 5. So in the chat box, could you please type the 6 senses? What are the 6 senses? Let's see who knows the 6. See if you can type all 6. If you don't know 6, it doesn't matter. What are the other 5? See if the chat box wakes up. In the chat. Good typing. I'm not seeing any messages, but I don't know if that's. Oh, yep. Now they're appearing. Field touch. Okay, so feeling. Somebody says feeling. Okay, we've got smell here, see, touch, taste. Okay, that's 5. Smell, feel, see, touch here. Anybody else? Touching. I see touch. Umami. Umami is one of the tastes, though. It's like the taste of mushrooms. And miso and things. Hearing that. Oh, like equilibrium's close. Yeah, it's kind of equilibrium. It's not exactly equilibrium. It's related to it, though. I shall reveal the 6, shall I? Instead of sitting here for 10 minutes. I'm a nasty teacher. I'm going, come on, give me the information. I give up. Okay, Claudia gives up. Claudia's the boss, so we move on. Right. The 6 senses are, and I should have moved this because if you've got the little photos of people's faces on the right, you're covering the list. Sorry. Sight, obviously, hearing. Then one, I'll give you the technical name in a moment. It's like feeling, movement, smell, touch, taste. So you've got the 5 traditional, the 5 that we tend to teach at primary school, the 5 that are much easier to say. The eyes are the organ of sight, the ears are the organ of hearing, the nose is etc. The feeling movement one is not a specific organ, but it's the sense that means that in your house at night, when you need to go to the bathroom or you need to go and get a glass of water, you can walk around your house without putting the lights on, because you know where things are and you can feel or sense the space and the distance. So you can translate your knowledge of where things are in your room to judging distance. So it's perception of space and movement. It's the same sense that if you haven't had too much dirt, you can close your eyes and touch your nose. Can you do that? Or how much wine did you have for lunch? Yeah, when you close your eyes, you can touch your nose. Well, that's your 6th sense that is allowing you to do that. Okay, its technical name is a horrible word. Wait a moment, I need to move this or I won't be able to move my slides. A second. Right. Sorry, having a Zoom moment. It's called proprioception. All right, that's the technical name for it. What we're going to do now is I'm going to show you a whole selection of activities that you can do with your students. We'll go through the different senses. We'll also do some nearer the end that combine different senses. Now, most of these activities generate vocabulary, okay, because we are generating a response to a stimulus. Vygotsky, one of the many things that Vygotsky said was that language is a natural bridge between a stimulus and a response. meaning that when something kind of activates your interest, you want to tell somebody about it. You want to talk about it. You want to communicate your reaction. You want to go, oh, horrible, or oh yeah. Before, when you were typing, somebody said the smell of crayons. Oh yeah, I remember that. I want to communicate. I need the language to be able to communicate that thought, that reaction to the stimulus. Okay, so most of these activities will activate Lexis, and then your students would be just putting it together in as you wish. So it could be a description, a story, a sketch. All right, so as we go through the activities you're doing, you'll be generating a lot of language. We can discuss what you can do with this language, but it becomes repetitive to do that every time. So I'll try not to go off track, and it'll just be language, okay? This first activity, though, is using the proprioception sense, the space and movement. There's quite a lot of you. In the class, if I was doing this session face-to-face, I would put you in pairs, and after I've demonstrated it, I would ask you to do it. I'm not going to be able to do that now because of the Zoom room. I could do it, but it would mean something like about 25 or 30 breakout rooms, which would get complicated, okay? So I will demonstrate it. You'll type in the chat box, and then I'm going to ask you to promise me that after this session, you will try it with somebody. Okay? Nod, please, or type in the box, yes. This is your promise to me that you will try this with somebody afterwards. Yes, okay, brilliant. I would love to be able to be there with you to do it, because it's great fun. But in 25 or 30 Zoom rooms, it would be, breakout rooms would be too complicated. When you, if I said to you, imagine you're holding an apple, what would you do? Now, who can I see? I can see a lady called Angela Cristina Miulescu. I can see you. What would you do if I said to you, imagine you're holding an apple? What would you do with your hands?
I would keep the apple with my both hands.
All right, so like this?
Can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me. Okay. Can you show me? Because I can see you.
Or like this and
Okay.
bite
right.
a piece of it.
Exactly. Now, if you can't see me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing a moment. Can you see me now?
Yeah, no, I can't see you yet.
Okay, because this activity won't work if you can't see me. Right. So there are two ways of connecting your brain and your hands. One is to give the information first. So imagine you're holding an apple, and we'll go, But we can do it the other way around. We can get our hands to tell our brain. So instead of the brain telling the hand, we can get it to do the other way. So what you can do, and just try this now, take your hands and put them in any position you want, and then notice how your hands send a message to your brain telling you what it's holding. So for example, I just did that and my brain went, teaspoon. But I didn't think about a teaspoon before I did that. And in fact, looking at it, I would go, oh, flour. But for some reason, my brain went, teaspoon. So try it. Put your hand in any position so you can go, baguette. You know, put your hand in a position. And if you see, I can see you all now, so I know if you're doing it or not. Remember, I'm a teacher. You get if you don't. All right, so just put your hand in any position, violin, and see what your brain tells you. Just notice it for a moment. And then if you want, just type it in there. It's a strange sensation, and I didn't know this happened until somebody else showed me in a drama class that I went to. This is something they do in drama classes. And it hadn't occurred to me that this happens, but it does. So now I use it in my teaching. I put my students in pairs. And one student just puts their hand in any position and passes the object to their friend. The friend takes it and says, "Ooh, thank you for the," and they say whatever thing it is, and they put it down. And then the first one will probably say, for example, "It's not a flower, it's a teaspoon," for example. So if I'm demonstrating with you and I go like this, I'm going to pass something to you in the camera. And then in the chat box, you're going to type, please, "Thank you for the," and then whatever you think it is. And then afterwards, I'll tell you what it was. Ready? Here you go. Here you go. Right, you take it, and then just chat in the chat box. Tell me what you think it is. Here you go. You can take it from me. Think of the yo-yo, the salt, a bag. Think of the cherry. Ooh, I like cherries. Think of the grapes. Think of the yo-yo, bag, cherry. So we've got grapes, cherry, bag, salt, keys, gummy bear. Oh, a scar. Got lots of things coming out. Well, actually, it was some fish. I gave you a fish, you thought it was cherries. Okay. Let's try another one. One more, just one, and then I'll explain how you would develop this with your students. You got it? You want to take it? That's it. A mouse. Sorry, a rubber and a mouse. So I hope you got that. I'm passing you another one the same. There you go. A watermelon. Think of the bowl of cherries. Oh, more cherries. A bowl, a melon. A load of melon here. A nice baby. A bowl, a pan. Okay, a bowl of soup. I'm definitely hungry. It's my lunchtime, remember. Please resist the food references. It'll make my stomach rumble. A baby. A baby's the closest. A pillow. Oh, nice one. Well, I'll tell you what it was. It was a very small hippopotamus. Now, I don't know why it was a very small hippopotamus, but it was. I had the image of a baby hippo. Okay. Now, in class, I do that. I demonstrate with a student, and then I put the students together and they do, it's called the improv box, because in theatre studies, it's improvisation, and it's like an invisible box. So they're taking these things out of the box and passing to each other. The one who takes, now they say, "Oh, thank you for the," now you find, depending on their level of English, they don't know all the words in English. So if they know the words in English, they say the English. Cherry, grapes. If they don't know a tray, for example, in the chat box at the moment, we've got tray, we've got pillow. It's possible they don't know the English for pillow. They can say it in their own language. You're doing this activity fast. They have to pass as many things as possible in about 30 seconds and then change roles. The other one's passing, about 30 seconds or a minute. And then you ask the students to sit down and together make 2 lists of words. So they write down all the words they remember that they said in English, and all the words that they remember that they said that they didn't know the English. So they've got their 2 lists. And then they, using dictionaries, teacher, or 2 groups together, they try to find the English for the other words. All right, so they find the English for the word tray. And then they can teach other groups. So you can swap partner, take one student from each pair and swap them with another pair, and then they teach each other the vocabulary, or you can get them to choose 3 of the new words and teach them to another student. You can get them to write a short description or 3 sentences with some of the new words. It's just the way of generating new lexis, but it'll also review old vocabulary. And there you did a lot of revision of fruit. We had a lot of fruit coming through there, which is good. Okay, so it's a nice little warmer. It doesn't take long. It's fun, it's memorable, it activates a lot of vocabulary, and it teaches new stuff. They will tend to say words they already know. Baby elephant or hippo, cherries, fish, but you might get 1 or 2 where it's new words, but allow them to learn that vocabulary. It came from their brain. They'll probably remember the word. Okay, so that's the improv box. And I need to go back to sharing now. I shall see your faces again in a few minutes. I'm going to lose you again, sorry. It's also called Pass Me a Raspberry. That's the other name of it. It's the same thing. The memory map is a similar thing. You put students in pairs and they draw on a map, use a map. You give them a blank map, well, not blank completely, but it's got some streets and then boxes. Now, imagine that's a piece of paper like this. The streets have to be wide enough for a finger to go through. Because you're using the proprioception here, you need physical movement will happen in a moment. The pairs prepare, it doesn't matter what your lexical set is. This is a good way of reviewing vocabulary. It could be the names of shops, and they could write post office on one box, hospital, school, shoe shop, Starbucks, whatever you want, you know. All right. I don't know, sushi bar, whatever your vocabulary is, you could put those in the boxes, or you could just have, you know, if we've just done fruit there, so you can have cherries, watermelon, it doesn't matter. They just write it on the box. So they prepare their maps, then reorganize the pairs. So they've each got a different map now. And then they take it in turns. One student is blindfolded, covers their eyes, closes their eyes, looks at the ceiling. Some students are scared of closing their eyes in the classroom. I get them to look at the ceiling. And the other student takes their finger. All right, so if you're the student with your eyes closed, then I take your finger and I run it through my map. And I say, this is the post office. We pass the post office and we go here, we visit the hospital. Then we go here, we visit the shoe shop. Then we go down and it's the sushi bar. And I take your finger through the map. Then I put your finger back at the start of the map and you try to remember the route. And you, with your eyes closed, say, this was the post office. This was the hospital, and this was something, and this was the sushi bar, etc. Right? And you're forming the map in the mind, and it's a good way of practicing vocabulary using the hippocampus, triggering the hippocampus, and this proprioception sense. All right? It's just maps or mazes and working in pairs. Okay, I hope that one was clear. If there are any questions at any point, by the way, just in the chat box. Okay, that map is from Eatipedia, the book called Vocabulary, which I think Cartouresh has, but you know, you can make maps very easily. Simple maps, but give them the boxes. And as I say, it can be shops and businesses or just any vocabulary. Turn left at the hippopotamus. You know, here's the hippopotamus, here's an elephant. Now let's go visit the zebra, etc. Okay. So that's using that one. Sorry, I'm having small problems changing slides. Now, smell. We've done the proprioception, the feeling movement one. Smell. Smell in the classroom. Okay. You do not need to smell your students, fortunately, and your students do not need to smell each other. It's not always a good idea. Fortunately, our senses, we can trigger the senses without the object being there. So earlier I said about the smell of paints, and you had the smell of, there was the smell of crayons. This is the one that stayed in my mind. What were the other smells? I've forgotten. The smell of books was one. The smell of the cold morning, etc. Now, if you're closing your eyes and I say to you, can you smell, you know, what's the smell of books? And you can go, and you can remember the smell, can't you? Try it. You close your eyes. Can you imagine the smell of a book? Not everybody can, but most people can. Can you imagine the smell of wet socks? Can you imagine that? Just type dusty. Somebody says dusty. That would be books, not wet socks, I imagine. Sorry. Exactly. You can bring smell to mind. We have an inner eye, we have an inner ear. You know how sometimes you can hear songs in your head, but we also have an inner nose. And that we can use in the classroom. And when we trigger the inner senses, we're also triggering the amygdala, the caudate nucleus, etc. All right, so you don't need to take smelly things to school, which is very nice to know. Okay, imagine having, I don't know, cheese and fish in your school bag in the morning. Yeah. So this is another thing you can do. I'm going to give you an idea. I'm going to say a word or a phrase. We're going to do about 3 of these. And I would like you to close your eyes, bring the smell to mind, and then note 4 words. 1 word must be an object, right? So an object that this smell makes you think of. So for example, if I say wet socks, my object instantly is Wellington boots. I don't know why, but that's what it is. Wellington boots. Being out in the rain, that's how my socks got wet. Wellington boots. You know, and think of a person, not a proper noun, so not Claudia, Roxana, Nigel, but you know, my grandmother, my neighbor, the football coach. There we go. That's one for wet socks. And an adjective, unpleasant, and anything you want for the 4th. Okay, so I'm going to plant the idea in your head. You're going to imagine the smell, and then you're going to type for me in the chat box, please, an object, a person, an adjective, and a 4th word of your choice. Okay. So the first idea for you is coffee. The smell of coffee. Bring the smell to mind. And then type in the chat box, please. Coffee. To type. Oh, somebody else has got delicious. We've got strong, bitter. I can't see with my scrolling. Something above strong and bitter, but I can't quite catch it. Cut my husband, sweet. Your husband smells of coffee. How nice. Lisa, frothy. Ooh. Good word, Berlin. Coffee, Simona, relaxing, chatting. Yeah. Roxana makes me think of coffee, actually. Coffee makes me think of Roxana. Cut me, delicious, indispensable. I said a wooden pencil. I don't know why. Maybe because the smell of coffee reminds me of wood. All right, so that's the first one. That's coffee. The second one, let's have a wet dog. The smell of a wet dog. You're an object, a person, an adjective, and a wet dog. I'm going to say these are my words. I put a collar, a postman, too sweet, mud, smelly, warm. Rug, Bella, muddy, pajamas. The seaside, oh, of course, yes. Towel, grandma, cold, childhood. Yeah, you see, we're getting ideas. Normally I say grass, but somebody earlier said they didn't like the smell of cut grass. So I didn't put it. Okay. Normally my second one there would have been cut grass, which is a more pleasant smell, but somebody said they didn't like it. Okay, so that's the one for the wet dog. And then the last one, which I find quite effective. I don't know why, but it works very well. Swimming pool. Get the smell of a swimming pool in your mind. An object, a person, an adjective, and just something else. An object, a person, an adjective, something else. Smell of a swimming pool. Salty, cold. Swimsuit, my kids, sunny and a cocktail. Cocktail, nice. Oops, I can't spell. Swimming ring instructor, prickly, that prickly smell of chlorine. Chicken soup, wet tiles, best friend, bed, neighbor, naughty. Bathroom, okay. Do you see how much vocabulary we're getting as a group? There's a lot of vocabulary coming out here. And again, when you're doing this kind of activity, allow students to note down words in their own language if they don't know the English. So if they know the English, they write the English. If they don't know the English, they can write it in their own language. And then you briefly have like a 5-minute moment after your 3 smells where they can look in a dictionary, or they can ask you, or they can work in groups to complete the gaps. All right, again, it's expanding the knowledge. I know this sounds a bit controversial, but I've been doing this for several years now, and my students' vocabulary expands so much, and their writing improves as well because they've got more variety of vocabulary, and they feel like it's their vocabulary. It's not the stuff from the book. They've got the stuff from the book, you know, the dog and the bed and the neighbor and the bathroom are from the book, but naughty, possibly they didn't know that one. And it becomes like a word that they contributed to the class. So, and then when they're writing, they use all this vocabulary, their writing gets better and they get happier because they see that they've got stuff that they can talk about. So what you would do with that, you've got your 3 smells, and then you say, now we're going to put them together and you're going to write a story. And you can have a story where you're at a swimming pool with the dog, or there's a dog at the swimming pool. It could be the beach if you don't want the swimming pool. And, you know, somebody's got coffee, or you're getting a coffee at a bar at the swimming pool with a dog. Describe the scene, you know, put it together, describe the scene, write a story, have a conversation, write a sketch, right? So it can be a story, a description, a sketch, put it together. They don't have to use all the language, but if you're teaching online, and let's face it, 2020, 2021, and probably 2022, who knows how we're going to be teaching, then you've got that chat box, and they can scroll and they can download as well. And in the classroom, you just do a brainstorm and put everything on the board. And then you say to the kids, choose 5 words that you didn't imagine, and add them to your words and include them in your story or include them in your description. And they'd select vocabulary. Okay, and again, you're exploding the amount of lexis, you're triggering the senses, and the senses are triggering the memories. Okay, and it becomes much more episodic and experiential, right? So that's smell, and I apologize for the wet dog. Now, before I move to the next one, imagine a freshly baked cake, just for a moment, and we'll get rid of the smell of the dog. All right. Oh, it can be, my cake is vanilla, normal, plain. I don't know if yours is chocolate, but the one in my head is like Magdalena. I don't know if you have Magdalenas in Romania. Touch, the next thing. This is something a lot of teachers do anyway. Chocolate cake, yes. You see, there's always a chocolate cake. You just like the smell of vanilla ones better. Walnut cake, there's a good one. If you teach primary, I think, you know, everybody knows the touch one, the touchy-feely bag, the bag that they can't see and they put their hands in. The fun Halloween, where you have boxes and they put their hand in and it's a wet sponge, or cold macaroni, those kind of things, and they have to guess what it is and what it could be. If it's not cold macaroni, what is it? You can also do the strange objects thing. Now, for obvious reasons, I can't do this one with you at distance, but I can show you examples, and then you can look around your houses. You get the students close their eyes, you have a collection of small objects, each one, you know, they take in pairs, whatever, they take the objects out of the bag, they have an object per pair, and either hold it under the table so they can't see it, or have their eyes closed. Depends, as I say, particularly teenagers, they won't be happy about closing their eyes. They have to hold it under the table. They will cheat. Come on, we all cheat. They'll have a little look. So if it's possible to get objects that the use is not obvious, they're more effective. So what is this one for? And they just describe it. So imagine the eyes are closed, they feel it, and they have to describe it first. That's the first stage. And then what do you think it's for, or what could you do with it? So, you know, can you pop some adjectives in there? Imagine you're feeling it though. See if you can trigger your inner sense of touch. How does it feel, do you think? We'll hold it up to the camera. How does it feel? Hard. Is it for knitting? You see. We're already going, oh, what is it? What's it fun? It's woody. Yeah, it feels sort of smooth, sort of rough. The lines are smooth. There's no angle. Long, etc. It's not cold. And then what do you think it's for knitting? And what could you do with it? Well, I could hit somebody with it. I could conduct music with it. You know, even with my eyes shut, I can do this. Not music. I can point to people. If I'm a teacher, I can point to things on the board with it. I can get aggressive with it. I could use it for, I don't know, exercise and dance. Pointed, smooth, okay, and then I can or cannot tell you what it is. There's another example of an object. And again, put it in their hands, they feel it. This is soft, this is squishy, this is, woo, ah, it's falling on the floor. The other half is hard, etc. Now I only have half an object. Unusual objects, okay? This thing is for your information, is a spurtle, and it's for making porridge. It's a Scottish thing, like me. I am a Scottish thing. Oops. And this thing that I dropped on the floor is for making tea. It's a small tea infuser, okay? That's the simple thing. With the eyes closed, what do you think it's for? How does it feel? If you didn't bring 15 strange objects this morning and you want to do something to generate adjectives of description, texture, feeling, then you run outside in the break from the classroom and you grab some stones, and you just use stones, because now if you look at stones, you don't get much of a description, but if you hold, and try this again later as well, like the passing thing, just find 2 stones, close your eyes, hold one in each hand, and start to think of adjectives. And you'll find that the contrast, you know, I can feel this is cold, this is warmer, this is sort of plasticky, this is not, this is smooth, it's curved, this is sharp, etc. And I get a lot more adjectives from touch than from looking at it. If you want, they can then open their eyes and add, but stones will get a lot of adjectives of texture, which you can then say, now think of other things. Cold, how many other things can be cold? Oh, lots. How about smooth? How about curved? How about rough? How about plasticky, etc. All right, so try that. Stones. This is actually a piece of wood. It looks like a stone, but it's a piece of wood from the beach. Now I'm sitting here at my desk with some stones, and I've got some shells. But any objects that you just have around, okay, that have contrasting textures. So that's the pairs of items. That's the touch one. Whoa, I can't find my scroller, my cursor. There we go. Okay. Are you happy so far? It's a little strange when I can't see anybody, but still, are you still there? Type in the box if you're still there. Say hello. Yes, right. Good. One person's still here. Yay. Yes. Excellent. Right. So we've done proprioception, and we've done smell, and we've done touch, and now we're going to do listening, ears, hearing. Good. Hearing is possibly the easiest in some ways, but you don't want to use the eyes. You want to really get them to focus on what they hear. Attention, apart from memory working through our senses, attention also works through the senses. And particularly if you teach teenagers, you know that keeping attention all the time is quite difficult. But because of the fact that senses, attention works through senses, you know, think about it. When you want to get the attention, you're in class, you want to get students' attention, you go, you make a sound, or you go, ooh, you make movement. Yeah. I'm not suggesting you make a smell, but if you notice a sudden smell in the street, you'll kind of go, oof, what's that? You know, and it will draw your attention. Okay. If you are, you know, if you touch a pin by accident, you'll go, ah, and you'll be looking at it, it draws your attention. So using different senses as well is a way of keeping students' attention, because changing from one sense to another draws the attention. So try activities that only use sound, not sight, hence the eyes closed, and visualization. So the sound is the stimulus, but in the mind, they're visualizing other things. The two ways of doing this. Now, one way, and next time I come to Romania, Roxana, I will do a music. I'll do a musical visualization with you. I didn't want to do it online because when I'm doing a webinar, I try to keep technology as low as possible just in case. So I'm not going to try to share sound with you, but I'll explain a musical visualization when I see you. However, as you are teachers, you have a very important tool in your teacher's toolbox, your teacher kit. And your very important tool is your sexy voice. Because all teachers have sexy voices. And you can use your sexy voice. Now, well, by sexy voice, I mean calm voice. All right, so not shouting loudly because you're angry. Your calm voice, you can use that to set up a visualization as well. We're going to try one. We're going to try a short one where I will ask you to close your eyes. Sexy voice, huh? You see, we all have sexy voices. Claudia. Practice it. It's an important part of your teaching kit. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and I will start a kind of a story for you with little questions. When I ask a question, you visualize or use your inner ear or whatever to imagine, to perceive the answer for you. You'll open your eyes for a moment, you'll note your answer, all right? You don't need to note it on the chat box. If you've got pen and paper, that would be ideal. Just note it. Again, you can note it in English or you can note it in your own language. Your English teachers, your English will be fantastic, but your students will do a mixture. They'll do Rominglish or something, and they will have half their notes in English and half in Romanian, or in whatever their first language is. Are you clear? I hope I explained that without forgetting a bit. Sorry, I'm having the I've been talking for an hour moment and my brain's going. Right, so close your eyes, please. I can't see anybody right now, so I have to trust you. I'm a teacher and you're lovely students, so I'm going to trust you. Close your eyes, just listen, imagine, think of your answer. It was a clear, dark night. And you were sitting completely alone in the middle of what? What were you sitting in the middle of? If you can note it on paper for now, not in the chat box, please. Not in the chat box yet. All right, we'll go for the chat box in a moment. But if you've got paper, best. So you're sitting alone in the middle of what? And as you sit there, you can hear something. You can hear something very quiet, not loud, just very quiet. What can you hear? You can hear something. Notice myself. What can you hear? And as you're listening to it, you see movement in front of you. near your feet. What is it? What's moving? Something is moving very near your feet. What do you see moving? As you lean forward to look more closely, you put your hands on the ground. How does it feel under your hand? Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it wet? Is it dry? Is it hard? Soft? How does it feel under your hands? Making notes in your paper. Now as you sit up straight again, stretch a little. Oh, you have that sensation that something is behind you. Don't know. You just feel like something is there. What could it be? What do you think's behind you? What do you think's behind you? Write it down. Then you look left. You see something in the distance. And what do you see to the left? Look left. There's something in the distance, not too far. Something over there to the left. And what is it? Okay. And then my final question when I do visualization, I normally ask more questions, going through the senses, looking up to the sky, etc. The last question is always, now you lean back, take a deep breath. How do you feel? The final question is, how do you feel? Okay. That's basically how a visualization works. I shall get rid of my sexy voice now and use a different one so you can tell. Then, if we're doing online, we're going to do a cascade. If I'm teaching online, if I'm teaching in a class, I just let everybody shout out. But I would normally have the vocabulary moment first. So they'll be in their groups, they've made their little notes, or they can be individual with a dictionary, but a good dictionary, make sure they're using like a Macmillan Learner's Dictionary online, not just the first thing that Google gives them, okay? Give them a, recommend a good learner's dictionary if they're using a dictionary. They complete their notes, then they shout out a load of vocabulary at you, and then in pairs they tell each other what they saw, okay? Or they can tell each other first and then shout out. But we're going to do the cascade. A cascade, if you're teaching online, is when you say, don't type yet, get ready to type. When I say 1, 2, 3, then you can type. The reason I do that is because if you just say type, then 2 or 3 students type and the others just wait and they watch and they go, yeah, that's the answer. All right, now this works for answering questions as well. Do the 1, 2, 3, everybody type, and then you give the prize to the 5th or to the 4th or whatever. Okay, but it saves those students from going, let's wait and see what Christina writes, etc. Okay, they all have to type at the same time. So I'm going to ask you where you were sitting. Don't type that yet. Get ready, get your fingers ready to tell me where you were sitting. 1, 2, 3, type. Where were you sitting in your visualization there? Where were you sitting? We've got park, we've got forest, wood, park, forest. Or if I'm in the middle of the street, ooh, ouch. Oh, I want to know why. Forest, okay, so that's the first thing. Then the second one was, what could you hear? Don't type yet. Get ready to type. Or you can type but don't hit send yet. What could you hear? 1, 2, 3. A dog barking, wind, nightingale, leaves rustling, an owl. Look at the vocabulary coming out here. Strange noise. Lots of vocabulary. Crickets. Ooh. Crickets, or were they the exclusive ones like cicadas? Okay. What was moving near your feet? Get ready, get ready, get ready. 1, 2, 3. What was moving near your feet? A mouse, a dog, leaves. Some people are not typing. They go, no, I'm just watching. The wings of a bird, a little mouse. That little mouse. Do you know, I did this with a class of adults once, and the students screamed. Be careful with the moving by the feet one. The snake would have made me scream. And this person was sitting on a beach, and it was a little crab that they saw. So it can be very immersive. So we got all that. We got feel under your hands. You probably got adjectives, hot, cold, whatever. What was behind you? I'm curious here. What was behind you? 1, 2, 3, type. What was behind you? Oh, your lover. Park. Another man. Okay. There is a trend. Trending in Romania. Lovers behind. Dogs in front. Lovers behind. The shadow of the past. I like that. The sexy voice. Okay. A tree. I had a tree as well. No lover. I had a tree. I had a palm tree, etc. Now, it's a very relaxing activity. Students love it. I have done this with teenagers. I've done it with adults. And I tell you, the effect that this has had on my students' work is that their writing becomes fantastic. They go from writing stuff like, I don't know, you know, describing a house. There is a sofa under the window, there is a door, etc. To, you know, you get them to walk around the house and imagine the smells and the sounds and the colors, and then they describe it. And you get these beautiful pieces of writing because they have ideas and they have vocabulary and they want to share it. And occasionally you get a student who didn't get a good idea. That's why you need to put them in pairs and they can steal each other's ideas. Okay, so do try it. Try the visualization there. Time, I've got about 10 more minutes, I think. I mean, I've got a little bit more, but we'll try and not take too long. Inner sight and feelings. This again is from drama classes. I went to one of my hobbies. I don't have many hobbies because I have no time, but I write screenplays. So I did a course on directing theatre. That's where the improv box came from, and this as well. So this is a technique that a theatre director from the Royal Shakespeare, a guy called James Farrell, he uses this. He does it with real. Where can we find the story? You make it up, but I can send it for you a bit later if you like. I've got various that I use. Okay, I will. Depending on the time, I'll type it in the chat box in a minute. Okay, Mihaela. The inner sight and feelings. Now, the way I did this on the course, the theatre director gentleman, he actually turned off the lights and he had the object there, and then he put the lights on and we wrote our notes. You'll see in a minute why it's not really a good idea to do it that way with students, particularly teenagers, turning off the lights. If you've been teaching more than about 2 weeks, you know why that's not a great idea. But I can do it in their minds. And it's a little similar to the previous one, but I'm going to suggest some images to you. And I want you to imagine how that would make you feel. Is it, you know, is it scary? Is it calm? Is it relaxing? Is it just strange, etc.? Does it make you feel anxious? And then what do you think the situation is? Okay. Now it's a little sequence of 4, so I'll do it as quickly as I can. Again, you just need to close your eyes a moment. And then when you're ready, you open it and you note down a feeling and what you think the story is in just a few words. The story of that image. As I do it, you'll understand more clearly. I'm not explaining myself very well, sorry. My brain is getting tired. Close your eyes then, please, again. I would like you to imagine a completely dark room. In the middle of the room, there is a beautiful candlestick and a candle flickering flame. The room is quite dark, can't see any furniture. You just see in the middle of the room a beautiful candlestick, and the candle is lit with a flickering flame. My voice might have influenced that. The candle. Right, just visualize that. Visualize the candle. And then just very briefly note, what's the feeling that that image evokes? What do you think the story around it would be? To write my own notes as well. Okay. Then, scary, yeah. The second image is connected to it. I'd like you to close your eyes. Same image, but now imagine there is a small teddy bear sitting next to the candle. Oops, still a darkened room, flickering candle. There is a small teddy bear sitting next to the candle. Small teddy bear. Again, how does that feel? What do you think the story is? Okay. The third one, sorry, I'm speeding up a little bit because of the time. The third one, again, now the teddy bear has gone. It's still the same candle, and next to it, there's a wine glass half full of a liquid. Dark room, beautiful candlestick, lit candle, and a wine glass half full of a liquid. How does that feel? And the fourth image, it's from me at the end of the day, exactly. Yeah. The story after the event, yeah, romantic. The last one is the darkened room, the beautiful candlestick, the candle, and the candle's gone out. Just that wisp of smoke going up. Oh, how does that feel? What's the story? How does that feel? What's the story? Okay, so that's something you can try. Oh, a ghost. You see, you can visualize. It's not quite the same as saying, what can you hear? What can you see? What can you smell? What can you da, 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 da. Where are you? It's giving much more specific objects, images. You can do it, you know, in an adult class, it might work if you teach adults. Certainly this time of year, teenagers, I wouldn't either have the candle or the light. you'll find very different stories. You then get them to compare their notes, look at the stories. In my experience, you'll have, particularly with a teddy bear, you'll have sad, the child has died kind of thing, and you'll have happy, relaxed bedtime stories. So then you get these very different stories, and you can use them as the basis for a story. And you can, again, if it's online, they can scroll through that chat box and have a look for ideas, and you put them to work together to write the story, or to choose two of the images and connect them into a story. The wine glass, it can be water that's in the glass, you know, it can be blood, it could be almost anything. What do we do in the shadow? So that's an idea for sight and feelings. We're running out of time, so I'll talk you through this one quickly. Images, so sight. There's some kind of basic rules that you use with images. Now, first is give choice, but limited choice. Again, this is the caudate nucleus thing. Sorry, I'm a bit obsessed with the brain. Give choice. We all have different brains. We all have different associations. So when you use pictures for description or for generating, etc., give a choice, a small choice. So here, for example, I've got the 3. I would ask my students to choose one of the 3, and then they're going to imagine what the photographer can smell, what the photographer can see, can hear, what's behind the photographer, etc., using all the senses, the 6 senses. Okay. And me, for example, when I look at that, and I took those 3 photos, so I know what the smells, etc., were, but the one on the left, for some strange reason, is the one that triggers my imagination the most. Possibly because it's the one with the clearest sound, I don't know, but you may find that when you look at those 3, where's my chat box? When you look at the 3, it's a different one that draws you. Okay, so same with the students. Give 3, and don't tell them which one, just, you know, get them to choose one. Avoid photos like this. Now, this is another one of my photos. It looks very simple. It's got a low range of color. Low range of color is the best for imagination. Too many colors in a picture, then the colors distract the imagination. The colors fill the attention. About 82% of your attention is taken up by color when you look at a picture. So that doesn't leave much room for imagination. So this picture looks like it's a good picture, except that on the left there, can you see that in the tree? What is that in the tree? Remember, I live in Oxford. Do you know what that is in the tree? Cat. Yeah, it's a specific cat, though. It's a very famous cat. It is the Cheshire Cat. You know the Cheshire Cat? From, it's very ugly. It's very ugly, I know. Yeah, exactly, Alice. It's from Alice in Wonderland. It's the cat that disappears and you only see the smile. I live in Oxford. Alice Liddell was from Oxford. The book was written in Oxford. And that cat is in a tree in the Botanic Gardens right next to Christchurch Meadow, where the books were, where she was told the stories. When I look at that picture, for me, there's too much knowledge involved. I'm triggering my declarative, because not my episodic, because my brain instantly goes, oh yeah, Cheshire Cat, Alice in Wonderland, Charles Dodgson, Lewis Carroll, blah, 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 and all that information comes through. That blocks. That blocks the imagination. It blocks the stimuli because it's moving into the wrong memory. It's moving into the declarative, not into the episodic. That one, on the other hand, Thundering Meadows is nothing. It's just the name. I don't know what that is. Photograph was taken by Sandy Millen. I found it in ELT Pics, which is a resource of photos for ELT teachers or English teachers. Teachers of English. online on Flickr. That for me, that's fine, because although it has the label there, it doesn't say anything to me, so I can use that in class and I can ask them how does the gate feel, what's the smells, the sounds, etc., etc. Okay, so when you're choosing pictures, be careful with that. Don't use any images that have, like if you start using pictures of the Eiffel Tower, too much information, they'll know where it is, they'll start to think of Paris specific rather than flying with their imaginations, okay? Activities that bring all the senses together, you need to guide them a bit, like the visualization that we did with me talking you through the senses. Make it specific, because you can only really focus on one sense at a time, so that if you do that, then you say to them, okay, what can you hear? Choose your photo, what can you hear? Pause. Right, what can you smell? Okay, guide them through it. And allow them a moment to focus on each sense, but not just, again, it's like a menu with too many things. If you just say, okay, do it, now guide them through it, okay? If you don't have any photos, you can do it with a single word. I could say to you, right, imagine a harbour. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you smell? Boom, boom, boom. It's easy. You don't need a lot of preparation for this, do you? You just need a word. Oh my goodness, I need a word. Harbour. And if you're not inspired by harbour, how about this one? I bet this brings ideas as well. Baby buggy, smells, sounds, squeaky wheel, baby buggy the law. So it's very easy to do that kind of thing. This was the one that I had for high-level people, not high-level people, you're high-level people, high-level students, but I want to finish in just about 30 seconds. Did you know that when you're teaching higher levels, if you use metaphoric language like pouring or moving, sweet smile, bitterly disappointed, something fishy, those words are sensory words. They're metaphorical, they're sensorial words. So when the way the brain works is when I say it's pouring outside, my brain goes to the word pour and it gets the movement of pouring, right? And then the proprioception center is triggered. Same with moving. Sweet. She has a sweet smile. My taste center in my brain is triggered by the word sweet. My taste center is triggered by the word bitterly. Probably and my smell center, I imagine, is triggered by fishy. So it's a good way to teach this kind of language, is to get students to compare their language and maybe another language if they speak another language and the English. So, is it the same in Romanian? Can you say if something's fishy in English, it's suspicious, it's a bit suspect, it's a bit, can you use the same word in Romanian? Bitterly disappointed. Can you be bitterly? I don't speak Romanian, but I speak Spanish, amargamente. I speak French, amerement. Must be something similar in Romanian because I can usually understand Roxana when she's speaking. All right. So you get them to compare, because by comparing the languages, the senses are triggered and the English word becomes more memorable. Okay. I'm trying to move the arrow. Those are the words that I use, the technical words, if you want to screenshot or photo or anything. The parts of the brain, they call it nucleus, amygdala, and hippocampus. And the three types of memory: declarative, procedural, and episodic. They do have other names. The episodic's often called the experiential, but it's the same thing. Muscle memory is procedural. Okay, so that's the tech words. And finally, and again, get the last one. There we are. Thank you to you, which I believe is mulțumesc, or possibly mulțumim, but I think it's mulțumesc. Roxana, you need to teach me more. It's been quite a while since I saw you. She's my Romanian teacher. So thanks to Roxana and Claudia. Sorry, Claudia, I didn't put you in there. I didn't get time between meeting you earlier. Jakub at Macmillan, who's also the man who's facilitated from Macmillan point of view with Roxana.
Thank you so much, Fiona.
That's the book with a map in it if you need it. So I hope to see you again. And if you've got time for any quick questions, feel free to stick any quick questions in the chat box.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fiona. This has been so interesting.
I hope it was fun as well.
It was fun as well, yes.
Good.
I have a few learnings I'll bring to the classroom next time I
Good.
go in. Like the sexy voice.
That's sexy.
I like
right?
that one, yeah. Thank
Can
you
smell
so
the
much.
crayon?
I do appreciate you reminding us how important all senses are, and how our students learn with all their senses, but also how we appear in front of them when we engage all our senses. So I appreciate you for this valuable reminder. And I would encourage all the 50 and something participants to clap in the chat for you, because this has been so interesting and really useful. I'm pretty sure all the teachers present here tonight can do some of these exercises with their students tomorrow in the classroom.
Good. Well, they already promised me that after this session, they're going to do the improv box with a friend. So.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Fiona. We're sort of running with time. I would encourage the participants, if they have any questions, to put them in the chat, and we can get back to you with all the answers. Fiona will take her time to respond, or me or Roxana.
Yeah, because I can download the chat if they're in the chat.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if the charm of your presentation comes from your Scottish roots somehow.
We do. We tell a lot of stories, the Scots.
You do, you do. And you make such a nice introduction to our next speaker, who has been patiently waiting for his turn. He also comes from Scotland. And today with us is Wiley Wright. Traditions bring people together and build communities. We started a wonderful learning community together with Brookhouse College about 6 years ago. I fortunately met Wiley at an education event, and we have been doing great things together ever since. And I appreciate he's here with us tonight just to say a few words about the opportunities Brookhouse offers. Hi, Wiley. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Hi, Claudia. How are you?
Hi, so good to see you.
So from one Scot to another Scot, so I have to make sure I keep the standard high, yes?
Yes, yes. But we trust you already. So thank you for making time to be with us here. So sorry you're not here on the couch with me like we used to in the times before the pandemic. Welcome, Wiley. So we have about 56 participants.
Okay.
Most of the people attending are English teachers. So let's hear, what opportunities does Brookhouse offer?
Yes, so we have been working with Claudia and Fly High with our summer school program for 5 or 6 years now. So if I can just share my screen with you, if you can just, I think somebody has to allow me to share my screen.
We'll do the magic again. 1, 2, 3, should work.
Should work, okay. Yes, it works perfectly, okay. So, I just, perfect, it's working. So we are Brookhouse College Summer School, and we are run summer schools for boys and girls aged 10 to 17 years old throughout July and August, okay? Now, we are based in this small town called Market Harborough. It's about a 2-hour journey north of central London. And the town itself is, you know, a picturesque small market town. Population here is about 15,000 people. It's a very, you know, country market town. Now, when we do summer school with the students, we have students that come from 30 or 40 different countries. We limit the number of students from one country to 30 students maximum each given week. We do that so that there's no one language that dominates the summer school except English, because we want the students to be mixed in as much as possible throughout the entire program. Now, of course, the students come, for a bit of a holiday, but what the main purpose is in their English. So they want to come and improve in their English. Now, in the summer school, we follow a course by Trinity College. It's called Graded Examination in Spoken English. And that is focusing mostly on the listening and the speaking skills. So students are not just sitting in classrooms doing grammar and textbook exercises. It's about being able to, gain that confidence in communicating with each other and discussions. What they do is in the lessons, they focus suitable to their level on certain topics, and they prepare for an exam on their final Friday at the summer school. And that's done with an external examiner from Trinity College that will come in and do an individual interview with them. And if lower levels at A1, it could be a 2 or 3 minute conversation where students are talking about themselves, describing themselves, etc. All the way through up to C2, when the examiner could bring something from current affairs or from the local news or newspapers they saw this morning, and then the student and the examiner have a discussion. So it covers that topic. Now, we're Trinity College Registered Exam Centre, and we are also accredited by the British Council. So the British Council mark there gives you kind of guarantee and comfort that we're a safe and high quality kind of institution. Now, the students that come, they will focus on their lessons in the morning. Now, one thing actually to mention about Jessie is that, unfortunately, with the introduction of Brexit, looking at the future, Jessie at the grade 6, which is B1 or above, is suitable for any kind of visa applications for settlement or working visas. So it could be something that is useful for the students, not just in terms of a summer school and that, but for future opportunities as well. Now, you can see our group from last year. So of course, with coronavirus, we would normally have 200 to 250 students each given week in the summer school. And last year, I think we were around 25 or 30. We had one small group of 10, 12 students there from Craiova, with their teacher Anka. And they did very well. You can see they're all holding their certificates there, so they all passed their Jessie exams. The Romanian students are usually at the higher level, grades 6, 7, 8 plus. The boy there, he was grade 10 or 11, if I remember correctly. So they had a good opportunity. Now, but what we want them to do is, if we are looking to encourage them to gain confidence with their English, it's not just focusing on building that confidence in the classroom. So we have a lot of activities that students do in the afternoons and the evenings. And we mix all of the students up into multinational teams, so that immediately encourages them to speak to the German and the French and the Polish students, and not just stay in a little Romanian bubble, for example. And we try and make sure that all of the activities are focused on naturally having to communicate with each other. So things like sports or laser quest, you can see they're doing baking in one of those photos. But we want them also to be very active, so not just sitting around all day. We want them to be tired by the time the end of the day comes, so they go to bed easily. But you see things like rock climbing and raft building, ice skating. So it's a very active program. Now, naturally, the students also want to come to explore and see parts of the UK. So students that come for the very first visit to England or to Market Harborough, they would be guaranteed to go to places for half-day excursions such as Warwick Castle and the Harry Potter studio tour where they made the movies. But we also have around 40% of our students are returners each year. So we want them to have new experiences. So we're always offering a second new excursion. So for example, Windsor Castle or the National Justice Museum. And then on the weekends, we want students to go a little bit further away. So the half-day excursions that we saw there are usually no more than a 90-minute journey away from the summer school, whereas on Saturday and Sunday we'll go a little bit further away, maybe 2 hours or 2.5 hours to travel. So everybody that comes is guaranteed to go on a sightseeing trip to London. We start at Greenwich, where Greenwich Mean Time comes from. We take the boat, the sightseeing boat down the River Thames, past Tower Bridge and Tower of London, down to Big Ben. We do a little bit of a city centre walking tour, and then the all-important some shopping time on Oxford Street. Students also guaranteed to go to one of the theme parks with the roller coaster rides, and then a third destination, usually Cambridge or Oxford. And then again, for students that are returning, there are always new destinations there as well. Now, we are a summer school, but we also run the boarding school all year round. We're an international school. In fact, Claudia's son comes to our boarding school currently. And you see each of the, so we have the boarding facilities and accommodation facilities from all year round, our own facilities. So you see example of some of the different rooms that are available there. We try and keep no more than 2 years age difference between the oldest and the youngest person in each house, and separate the boys and girls. There's full-time members of staff that work there that are responsible for the care, so they sleep in overnight and are available for the students. About 50% of the summer school staff are employed by the college all year round, and then it's only for the summer that we're employing a few more English teachers, because we don't focus only on English in boarding school. And then the activity staff, usually university students, you know, young and energetic. And because we're boarding school, yeah, just examples of a common room in one of the houses. And then we obviously have to offer the catering. So there are 3 cooked meals each day. Students have 4 or 5 options, and they choose whatever they want. They can go back for more. And the only difference is on the weekend, they create their own packed lunch to take. So it's like a Subway style setup where they can choose what they want to take, okay? So that gives you an overview of the summer school. We have been working now with Claudia for 5 or 6 years, and we have almost filled the Romanian capacity in our summer school because we limit it to 30 students each week. And we have been taking students so far from Craiova and Timisoara. So there is some availability still for 1 or 2 smaller groups. So if anybody was interested in more information, they could speak directly with Claudia. You also have some contact details there. You're very welcome to ask me questions now, or get in contact after the event, as you wish. Okay. Are there any questions now?
Thank you so much, Wiley.
No, fine, yeah.
Thank you so much. I suppose if there are any questions, people can put them in the chat or can contact us.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, Wiley.
Yes.
Well,
I'm looking forward to welcoming you back next summer. You've not been able to make it for 2 years because COVID, but it was nice to have some students at least.
Yes, we were happy to go back this summer. Brook House in Market Harborough has become a tradition for us. Our children, our students thrive whenever they go there. So we're looking forward to go back. Thank you so much, Wiley, and hope to see you soon.
Yes,
in
I hope
person.
to come visit us again soon, very soon, I hope so. Okay, nice to see you. Okay, take care.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
No, thank you, everybody. This has been so interesting. We ran longer than expected. As a way of closing, I just wanted to, I usually bring something to share with you because, as Nigel said, learning happens together and learning happens by sharing. So without knowing what Fiona's presentation will be about, I just brought a book that I recently got as a present from a wonderful group of leaders that I'm part of. It's a book by Charlie Mackesy. He won the British Book Award this year. It's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And it's so great because it engages all the senses. It's a book with drawings and a wonderful, wise discussion among all these characters. And as a way of encouraging for you, wonderful teachers, I just found this short passage. I'm going to read it to you. Well, hello, says the mole. Do you have a favorite saying? Asked the boy. Yes, said the mole. What is it? If at first you don't succeed, have some cake. I see. Does it work? Every time. So I would encourage you to continue doing the great teaching that you do. At Life Education, we always try to bring experts, new resources. I know as a teacher and educator myself how valuable such resources are. So do keep in touch and have some cake when things don't work out the way we always want to. Let's keep in touch, and if you're interested in our programs, contact us. Thank you once again for being with us. And yeah, if there is some takeaway from today's event, do put it in the chat for us. If you have any suggestions, again, put them in the chat. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Wiley. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Roxana, for always providing resources. We will be sending you through Roxana codes for digital materials that you can use in your classrooms. I also thank my team here, always doing a great job for us here at Fly High and at Life Education. All the best to you wherever you are. Bye-bye.